Veterans Voices is sponsored by these local businesses.
This Veterans Day, we're honoring our local veterans by sharing their stories. Thanks for joining us for this special edition of Veterans Voices. I'm Ansley Daniel. For the next half hour, we'll share our local veterans' stories from their time in the service.
I actually did not serve on the land, but I was within the shore area. Sometimes on gun line, sometimes on blind guard.
We'll also tell you about the work that they do in the community and take you on a trip to the nation's capital with Honor Flight of the Appalachian Highlands' final mission of the year.
Probably one of the best things I ever did, and I'll remember forever.
A Vietnam Air Force veteran's time in the service has led to him honoring fallen soldiers. David Schmelzer decided to join the Air Force while he was in college. He spent most of his time in England at Royal Air Force Woodbridge and Royal Air Force Upper Heyford. That's where he loaded bombs, guns, and rockets onto tactical planes. Schmelzer got out of the Air Force in 1971 and moved around for various jobs. But now he's the second vice commander for American Legion Post 64, and he helps to run the Greene County Honor Guard.
It gives me a great feeling of gratitude for the American life, the freedoms we have, what it takes to maintain those freedoms, and it's just, I feel, the right thing to do.
This year marks the 80th anniversary of D-Day. While the invasion of Normandy on June the 6th of 1944 did not end the war in Europe, the success on that day did create a path to victory for the Allies. Now, 80 years later, an Abingdon veteran is remembering his part in that historic day.
Most people in Abingdon, Virginia know Don Parker as the pastor of Cleveland Presbyterian Church, but he also had a major role in history.
I was in combat in the invasion of Normandy.
The World War II Army veteran landed on Utah Beach that day.
Well, we went on troop ship, of course, and we got so far they threw a cargo net over, and they had landing crafts come beside, and we climbed down the cargo net into the landing craft. When they opened the landing craft, the front just caved out. We jumped out into the water.
He was in the 314th Infantry, 79th Division.
Brilliant generals, and I include Patton. Patton knew his work, and he did good generals, but he was just pretty rough on the people. And you had to be, I guess. I mean, if I turn it around and look at it from his way, he was probably right in almost everything he did. I mean, he was smart. He was good in the work of being a general.
Parker was shot in the foot and received a Purple Heart.
He said I was going to die.
But he survived and continued to center his life around serving others.
3 words: why not you?
He was studying for his master's degree in sociology when he got the call to join a different kind of army, the Lord's Army.
I says, honey, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to have to be a preacher. She looked at me and said, I always wanted to marry a preacher.
At 100 years old, he says believing in Jesus Christ is what will get you far in life.
Every one of us is a part of history. And, well, you live as long as God wants you to live, and you die when God wants you to die.
Don Parker celebrated his 100th birthday back in April, surrounded by his friends and family. During his church's service, the congregation celebrated Parker and congratulated him on this major milestone. He was also recognized by the mayor of Abingdon with a proclamation and a key to the city. A Greenville World War II veteran also celebrated his 100th birthday this year. Jack Hope says that being in the Army is what shaped him. He was drafted when he was just 18 years old and had never been out of Greenville before. The Army took him to England, France, Belgium, Holland, and Germany, where he worked as a Tech 3 small arms mechanic. Hope turned 100 years old on January 17th this year. His family traveled from hundreds of miles away to celebrate.
It won't let you do a lot of things get out here and drive and ride motorcycles and things like that. But I mean, it feels good to be 100 and able to go.
Hope says his time in the Army gave him discipline and made him the man that he is. Those who visit Thomas Reeves' home in Irwin will find walls full of certificates and accolades from his time in the service, including 5 Valor Awards. Reeves wasn't drafted to Vietnam, but ended up serving 2 tours there. Several missions in March of 1967 gained him the Distinguished Service Cross. That's one of the highest honors for those in combat. The first was for flying a colonel around to different battle sites.
It was like being in the movies. I could hear the firing. I could see them rushing through the elephant grass and headed towards the river, firing as they went, carrying this one guy that had malaria. Long story short, he got out. We got him loaded on. My door gunner was firing the M60 machine gun to repel the enemy.
That's how he earned the Air Medal for Valor. After that, he got the call that the enemy was encroaching on another group and they needed help. Reeves made several trips through the foliage to a small landing zone to deliver ammunition and supplies to help other soldiers.
Somehow a fire had started. I don't know whether it's from our exhaust on our jet engine or what, but a fire had started and I had to pick them up. We hovered enough to blow it out. The blades on that aircraft are 47 feet long and blew it out. As they were coming from either side in the bushes and the elephant grass to get on.
After that, he started making aerial radio relays for companies on the ground through enemy and friendly crossfire. Vietnam veteran James Spires was just recognized for his service in the war this year. At just 17 years old, Spires enlisted into the Navy as the Vietnam War was raging on. He volunteered to work with 50 caliber machine guns and the 81 mm mortar on the ship. When he returned home, Spires says that he was called a lot of names as the Vietnam War was highly controversial. Decades later, he still hadn't gotten the recognition he deserved from the Navy.
I didn't get my Vietnam Service Medal or my Good Conduct Medal because they said, I kept saying I didn't qualify, and I'd print out where it says I do qualify.
After 8 years of trying on his own, he reached out to U.S. Congresswoman Diana Harshbarger for help. She and her staff reached out to the Records Analysis Branch, which reviewed his case. It determined that Spires did earn the Navy Good Conduct, National Defense Service, and Vietnam Service medals. He intends to pass them on to his grandchildren after he enjoys them first. At 18 years old, Danny Hubbard left his home in Grundy, Virginia to start a job at Ford Motor Company in Michigan. But the Army put a wrench in his plans when he was drafted into the Vietnam War. During his time in the service, he hauled food, ammo, and infantry soldiers, but he also saw a lot in the war zone. He also has a few issues, including neuropathy, that can be traced back to Agent Orange. The 13 months in Vietnam have haunted Hubbard ever since he left in 1971. 53 years ago.
When I come here and I found out I had PTSD, I didn't know how. You kind of block it out, so I blocked my whole childhood and everything out. I don't really remember anything.
When he retired and moved to Florida, Hubbard really started to get help, and he also began helping other veterans. The end of someone's life is when people often gather to celebrate the person's life, but for some, they have no one. That's when the Mountain Home National Cemetery and other local veterans groups step in to honor the fallen heroes who were unaccompanied when they pass. Flags are flown at half-staff during the quarterly ceremony for the unaccompanied. Between 2 and 6 veterans are honored at each of the ceremonies.
Sometimes they end up in a medical examiner's office. They end up in a funeral home and they've done the cremation and no family's been to claim them, and years later here we are, and we're making sure they have that honor.
Organizers say that they want more people to come out and pay their respects. The next ceremony is happening on January the 15th at 3 p.m. Coming up, one local veteran has always wanted to help others. Hear how his time in the service led to becoming a battalion chief with the Elizabethton Fire Department. That story next. Marine Corps veteran Andy Wetzel has always wanted to help others. We show you how 2 deployments to Iraq helped him become a battalion chief with the Elizabethton Fire Department.
Serving others comes naturally to Marine Corps veteran Andy Wetzel.
Serving my country, other than serving the Lord, there's no greater privilege in this world.
Wetzel was an infantryman, working his way up, spending 2 deployments in Iraq.
We had perimeter security around Al-Assad Air Base, and we also were responsible for all the convoys that came in and out of the base. And so we were at the Jordan border a lot, picking up supplies, Baghdad, Ramadi. So we were traveling a lot. We were running basically a convoy a night.
In 2004, he was there as a sergeant. In 2009, a company gunnery sergeant. Both times responsible for groups of men who all made it home.
It was absolutely the most important thing. I mean, it's no different than a job I do here at the fire department. When I show up in the morning, my job is to keep these guys safe and make sure they come home to their families the next morning, and that was pretty much my job there too.
He's now one of the battalion chiefs for the Elizabethton Fire Department.
The discipline, again, the understanding of training, the understanding of the importance of taking care of your men, all those things I hope I brought to the fire department.
The lessons learned in the Marines helped prepare him to lead crews at 3 different fire stations.
The focus had to be razor sharp. You had to understand everything that was going on. Your preparation prior to leaving the wire on a convoy or something like that was paramount to make sure we had our bases covered with anything that could possibly happen outside that wire.
Serving the country didn't stop with him and the Wetzel family. His 3 sons are also Marines.
That's obviously a lot of pride in them following in my footsteps. And, you know, I followed, my dad was a tanker in the Army, and my grandfather was in the Army Air Corps during World War II. So there's a lineage of service in our family.
Wetzel is also the commander for the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post number 2166.
Wetzel isn't the only local veteran whose time in the service led to a career in public service. Marine Corps veteran Michael Malone's time instructing infantrymen led to him training officers at the Carter County Sheriff's Office. Malone went into the Marines right out of high school and spent 17.5 years in the service. He was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan working patrols while he was there. Malone spent his last 3 years before retirement in the reserves and in the National Guard. He was then recruited to work at the Sheriff's Office.
When I got closer to after my time here, I decided that that's what I want to do is teach what I learned to newer deputies, what I did with the military.
Malone found a passion for teaching others while he was working as an instructor at the School of Infantry. Coming up, people often think of combat and conflict when the military comes to mind. We'll tell you how one local veteran spent his time in the service building relationships with foreign countries. That story is next. Oftentimes, when people think of the military, they think of conflict and combat. But some service members work to build relationships with foreign countries. We show you how Army veteran Antonio Bonch helped cultivate those relationships.
Although your military, your Army is always to be prepared for war, we also have a very small arm of the military that's about building relationships.
The Army is a family affair for Antonio Bonch, following in his father's footsteps, but his career looked different than others.
You have scattered around embassies in, every continent. We have military personnel. Sometimes it's just 2 people. Other times you have offices that are as large as 50 to 75 people that are working on building networks. This is a very small cohort of your military. It's probably less than 1%. That does this kind of work on a daily basis with your partners.
He was first assigned to a chemical detachment, eventually becoming part of the diplomatic arm. When 9/11 happened, he and his family were sent to Kuwait.
I wound up being assigned to be the advisor to the Kuwait Navy and the Kuwait Coast Guard. And so my job was to ensure that whatever the U.S. government and the U.S. military needed to prosecute the war was available, that the Kuwaitis were going to be amenable to whatever we needed them to do.
He also spent time working in Germany, Morocco, Lebanon, Yemen, and was sent on a special mission to Israel in 2005.
The Israelis were going to disengage from Gaza and 2 settlements from the West Bank. And so my job was to work with the Palestinians to ensure that they would assist the Israeli Defense Forces with a security cordon to withdraw the settlers that were in Gaza at that time.
After that, Bonch went back to Germany to help with a new Africa command, and then went back to Yemen, helping to send its military members to schools in the States and purchasing small arms.
The country also purchases weapon systems. So at the time I negotiated the biggest contract we ever had with Morocco, a $2.5 billion sale of F-16s and T-6 trainer aircraft.
He became a defense attaché and was the Levant Division Chief before retiring from the Pentagon. 27 years, 4 months, and 16 days as an officer wasn't enough, though.
The thing about servicemen and women is we don't stop. We don't stop giving to our country, to our communities, and so one way of doing that is belonging to veteran service organizations.
Coming up, Watauga Post 49 named its first female post commander and its history this year. How she feels about serving in that position. Next. This year, Watauga Post 49 of the Tennessee American Legion named its first woman post commander in its 105-year history. Paulette Baldwin served in the United States Navy from 1974 to 1978. She says it was a calling for her, and she loved every minute of it. She was in data processing and naval intelligence during the Vietnam era. Baldwin says being chosen as post commander is exciting and that she's proud to have earned the title.
It's a total honor for me. You know, being a part of the American Legion is the same thing as when I went in the Navy. I was honored to do that, and I'm extremely honored to be here today and to work with these people.
Baldwin assumed her role as post commander in July. Coming up, Honor Flight of the Appalachian Highlands took 18 veterans on a trip to the nation's capital. An inside look at their visit next. News Channel 11 had the chance to tag along with Honor Flight of the Appalachian Highlands' final mission of the year. The nonprofit takes veterans on a trip to the nation's capital to visit memorials for all of the branches of service and different wars. The most sober and emotional stop, though, is the wall at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. But those who went on the trip say that this experience is healing.
We were not thanked when we came home, but this makes up for it. It's a fresh start. It's like we came home.
I don't know that I've ever had such a good 3 days. I mean, you just feel love in this group. And I need it, baby. I need it bad.
During the last mission, 4 veterans had the honor of laying the wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier. Thanks for joining us for our Veterans Day special. We hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you to all who served.